Welcome to Stories of Hope. I'm Christine Hotchkiss. Each week I bring you stories that will inspire you, educate you, and give you hope. I want to thank my studio sponsor, the Motivated Mind Group, your global creative agency based right here in downtown Chandler. Today my guest is Patricia Weltin, and she is with the organization Beyond the Diagnosis. Beyond the Diagnosis unites art and science to inspire research and innovation of treatments for people living with rare and neglected diseases. Now that sounded like a lot of stuff, but it's really, really cool. Please help me welcome my guest today, Patricia Weltin. Welcome, Patricia.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
I'm excited.
I don't know how the algorithms work on social media because you and I were not friends. I don't even know how it came about, but I saw what your organization is and does, and I never heard of such a thing. I said, I got to figure out more about what this lady's doing, what her organization is doing, not just within your own state of Rhode Island, but throughout the United States. Please tell me more about this. I understand that there are over 7,000, I say that confidently by what you have on your website, 7,000 rare diseases. Tell me more.
Well, there are 7,000 rare diseases, and about 1% of those rare diseases have a treatment. So I started this whole project because my children have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, hypermobile type. Now at this point, it's not considered, I mean, it is still considered rare, but we consider it rarely diagnosed. So I think that 30 million people in the United States probably have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. They're misdiagnosed as fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, lupus, MS, you name it. Any autoimmune disease, these people likely have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So I started in this space thinking my daughter had a disease called hypermelanosis of Ito, which actually is rare. She was misdiagnosed, and around 18, both of my kids got very, very sick. Generally, with EDS, you can have a decent childhood, and then something triggers the cascade of just a decline in their health. So I wanted to find a way to, because of this complete lack of knowledge in the medical industry of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, I wanted to find a way to humanize my kids and other kids, because to wait 18 years, the average wait for a rare disease is 8 years. We waited 18 years for a correct diagnosis. That's unacceptable. No one should have to go through what we went through trying to get a correct diagnosis.
Well, and everybody knows about all the different common research, cancer, different types of cancer. But when you say 7,000, and what you just shared with me about what your children have, I've never heard of those either. So that goes again under the category of the 7,000 different diseases that we don't have research for, which I don't understand. And then again, you've mentioned, which a lot of people are familiar with, is the autoimmune. And again, that's just one word with different entities of it, different compartments of it, I suppose. And so you found a way to help bring an awareness, not so much the research, but hopefully an awareness to say, hey, you've been misdiagnosed, this might be this, through art. Is that correct?
Yes.
Tell
yes.
me more.
And the idea was to, like I said, humanize us. So we here, I live in Rhode Island. So I thought, let's put out a call for art, and we'll do a little art exhibit. And our first exhibit was at Brown Medical School. And I thought, oh, this is cute. It was really helpful, and they really loved it. And we can travel around New England. And we started with 13 portraits. We now have 147, I think, portraits representing 147 different rare diseases. So we do one portrait. We're trying to get to 7,000. So, someone's gonna. I know it's a huge ask. All of the portraits are donated to us by artists from all over the world. We have artists in Bali, Poland, Thailand. And recently, the art exhibit started traveling to in November, and now we have a museum in Brazil that is interested. So we're actually creating our, offshoots of this exhibit that will travel around Europe, will travel around Latin America, and then we have this one for North America. So the credit for this, and I mean, it was my idea, but the magic of this, and people call it a program because this is what we do. It's not a program, it's a movement, and it is powered by love and compassion from the art community. It's magical, and I have not, in the 7 years that I've been doing this, put out a single press release, yet we've still been on CBS Sunday Morning with 7 million viewers. We're the only art exhibit of its kind. No one has ever done anything like this. It was just, it's beautiful. And I truly, and I'm a pretty, when you have 2 sick kids, you become very, very practical.
So and there's something that I have to add to this, only because it makes sense. I know what you have, and I'm actually have you show here in a few minutes what you showed me prior to us in this recording. First of all, what is your website? Because this is an audio and a video, and I want to make sure that that information is provided so other people can go take a peek at what you're doing. What is your website address?
BeyondTheDiagnosis.org. You can find everything you need on there.
So when we talk about portraits, here's where I think it's quite interesting. We all say, don't judge a book by its cover. Then we hear, what you see is what you get, right? But this is actually something so much deeper than just what you see is what you get and judge a book by its cover. These are portraits of individuals who have different diseases that you mentioned in here, of the 7,000 that are not known, that this is a face. These are portraits that are of individuals, children of certain diseases, and you have some very talented artists that
Yes.
do these portraits. What is it in the artwork that you're trying to show? Because not everyone can see a disease on the outside. The illnesses are on the inside. What is it that you're trying to show?
We're trying to show that they are someone's child, sick child. They're someone's brother, they're someone's sister, someone's niece or nephew or grandchild, just like every other child, and they are deserving of treatments, just like every other child. And when you think of rare diseases, people think uncommon, but there are so many people, there are 30 million people affected by rare diseases, and it's, most of them are kids. And to kids suffering without a treatment because you consider it rare, it's not okay. And I think people, when they hear the word rare disease, think, oh, that can't happen to me. So we're trying to give them an understanding. You can see the joy in these children's face. Even the ones that can't talk, they are loved, and they love. They're just like everybody. And we get, as parents of children, sick children, to us, we get annoyed with them just like any other child. They're no different, except they're struggling with these illnesses that no one really cares about. And this campaign has elevated rare diseases to an awareness space that I've never dreamed. I mean, to be in a museum, to reach people who have nothing to do with rare diseases. Originally, it was intended for the medical community, but it's so popular and so well received. It's easier for people to care about us through this artwork than just hearing about us.
I believe that as human beings, not only are we emotionally created, but we're curious also. So with that being said, why do you choose someone having a painted portrait of someone versus a photograph that was taken by a camera?
We just honestly thought, somebody came to me, a young girl came to me that was the daughter of a board member, and she said, I have to paint for a high school a portrait for our high school art class, can I do someone with a rare disease? And I started thinking, maybe this is a way that we can grab people's attention. And that's how it's
And you,
not thinking that, I mean, these artists spend so much time. We send lots of reference photos. We send a bio from the parents. They want to know who these children are. I just got a portrait in from an artist in England. He sent to go to a family in Thailand, and he sent, along with the portrait for us to use in the exhibit, a stuffed animal that he asked me to forward to the family. The little boy he painted. It's like they give us so much, and most of the artists that paint for us paint again. We just picked up an artist from the UK, and she did one portrait, and she said, I want to do 2 a year. Like they become. We have one artist that I think he's done 10 already. It's magical, and they call us orphan diseases because nobody cares about us. And I always say, no, we're adopted, and we've been adopted by the art community.
I like that. It has a bit more of love involved in it versus using the phrase of not caring. Yeah. Now, you talked about these are in exhibits. So it started out to be something that was more for the medical industry, but it's now turned into community where people actually see these. And it's a traveling art exhibit, is that correct? So it's not just one place, it actually travels all over the place.
Yes. And if we're lucky, generally during the months of January, February, March, I can't meet the demand for the exhibit. It's out. It's all out. The only thing on the walls are wires, and all of the artwork is out we go to the NIH every year, places like the Broad Institute, which is one of the greatest research institutes in the world, a lot of children's hospitals. February is Rare Disease Month. February 28th is Rare Disease Day. Mm-hmm. I always say, because my kids are sick, I always say Rare Disease Day is every day in my house.
Oh,
so
that was very powerful to say.
Yeah, just because there's a lot of hype in the community around, and there's a lot of events, and it's all very exciting, but we go home and we're still faced with the same challenges.
So I actually printed off some stuff from the website, and I don't know if it'll be able to be seen here, but I'm going to hold up just a screen print that I had of some of the artwork that are portraits of some of these kids with these orphan diseases that you have referenced to. And spectacular. What is the youngest age and the oldest age of the artwork that you have of these kids?
The oldest age is, at the time of the painting, is 18. We don't accept artists. I mean, children over 18. And there's a reason behind that. I mean, I have 2 adult children with a rare disease, so people don't care about adults with rare diseases. They don't care about children with rare diseases, so they care less about adults. So for now, we're going to do children, and the youngest is being painted right now, and it's a baby that didn't live past a few days old.
I'm sorry.
So
now you have a book that's with you. Please share on our screen this book and tell me more about who this individual is and the artist, because I do believe there will be my guest coming soon too. So tell me more.
So this is Ford. He's our cover child. We do a catalog every year, a new catalog every year. These are beautiful. They're keepsakes. So Ford has CTNNB1, I think it is, and he's an amazing kid. And his mom is Effie. She runs a podcast called Once Upon a Gene, and for people in the it's around rare diseases. But the artist that painted Ford, Kimberly Cusack, has the same disease as my kids, which is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And she became involved in the exhibit because of an EDS mom. So we're super excited. I was this girl is very young who painted this. She's in her 20s and she's a phenom. She's to make the cover is a big deal.
Okay,
So
I would think so.
we're
Absolutely.
to,
Now, I
to
also,
have it painting.
and I understand that less than 5% of all rare diseases, orphan diseases, as you've actually labeled it, have a treatment. That's not very much.
Yeah, if they say less than 5%, I think it's 1%. I've actually gone through the FDA's list of approved treatments, and some of them are double. Or they consider it a treatment for a rare surgery, so it's kind of overcounted. I don't think it's 5%.
What, in your opinion, would you say is the biggest attraction with the people that you have heard or seen or know that go through these exhibits? Because you've already mentioned some international locations too. What would you feel that is the most inspiring part or the most intriguing part of coming to an exhibit like this?
I have seen grown men weep when they walk into this exhibit. It's overwhelming in a beautiful way. There's an energy, and I truly believe, and like I said, I'm very practical. I believe that the love and commitment of these artists comes alive in these portraits, and when you are around this energy, it changes you. I mean, during COVID, I spent so much time in the gallery because I needed to be uplifted by these beautiful kids. And when we have a portrait in the house, like, we don't say, "Oh, that's Ford's portrait." We say, "That's Ford." To us, at Beyond the Diagnosis, the portrait is the child. And I just adore, I get to know all of these families and these artists, and I think I must have the best job in the whole world.
So doing this, do you think this is actually encouraging research to be?
We've actually had schools where the exhibit has gone, and we've had them do programs on the diseases that we are representing and research on the diseases that we are representing. Yes, absolutely. And the problem with rare diseases is there is not enough awareness. So if you can imagine, not only not having a treatment, not having doctors that understand, not having family or friends that understand, we're extremely isolated. Most people will say to me, "Well, at least you don't have cancer. Your kids don't have cancer." And I want to tell you right now, and this will probably make people angry, but most of the parents would say, "I'd rather my kids had cancer."
Wow.
Then there would be services available to me. There would be compassion. There is no compassion for my kids, not at their schools. Both of my children have had brain surgery. My other daughter's had 26 surgeries, spinal cord surgery. But people still say to me, "At least it's not cancer." And I'm like, "You have no idea how much worse it is."
I'm going to say it as kind as I can. I think the way society has programmed us, we're going to use the word programmed us, that when you just mentioned cancer, well, everyone knows what cancer is, right? Everyone knows what an autoimmune disorder is, and there's other illnesses that are diseases that are out there. I think that there's more money, how do I say this gently, more money to be given to help something that has more of a spotlight than something that is kind of an experimental thing. They're not quite sure. It kind of goes back, and I hate to say this, forgive me, kind of goes back on that 2020 era that we just had, with not knowing what COVID was, but yet there's research that says there was other COVIDs. We just had a number after the word COVID that we are now all familiar with it. Kind of goes, in my opinion, the same thing with all these orphan diseases. If there's not enough money that's going to be put into the research, then it goes back to what you said. No one cares. And that's the unfortunate part. So I think what you're doing is extraordinary. Hopefully it does bring an awareness to not just the young faces that we see in these portraits, and being able to give their stories of who they are and what their illnesses are, but perhaps somebody is going to say, you know, well, we need to find a research for these, because like you just said, you have two children that have an illness that I have never heard of, because we've been programmed to know what we've already been talking about. Yes. So I hope that it does. Which brings me to my next question, and that is the exhibits. How does someone, I'm sure there's a process and not every photo or every individual qualifies to be a part of your traveling exhibit. Tell me more about how someone can be a part of it or how it does get put into an exhibit.
Okay, so in the beginning, it was just my friends because I never thought it would grow to be this big. So I would just say, "Hey, can we paint your kid?" So because I had already been working as an advocate in the rare disease space, but we now have the website set up, which it's been like this for years, with a patient submission form and a release form from the parents. We never paint the same disease twice because we want to give all of these kids the opportunity to be seen. So generally, if they sign in, and it's a disease we've already done, we won't accept that application. So, and the whole key is the reference photos. You cannot have a good portrait without a good reference photo.
Right.
So that's what I always tell them. When a parent asks me, what should I do? I'm like, make sure you're right. It doesn't have to be professional, but it has to be clear enough. Nobody else in it, so yeah, so it's all set up and it comes to us, and then we have a committee that we assign, like, this would be a good artist for this person. And artists can also sign up on the website who are interested.
So you having founded this, the vision that you had, the vision that you didn't see as well, how do you feel about that? Does that give you healing and help other people with a healing to know that there are these diseases that may never, ever be under a microscope to be a research to save or to help someone?
I think that a lot of people with rare kids find a way to make sense of it and find a way to fight. Not just for their kids, but a lot of times for other people's kids. And that's what I think, that if I weren't working in this space, I would be despondent, or I would have become despondent, because this life it's hard to explain because it's unimaginable. I can tell you my kids are medically complex. I've actually recently been asked to write a book about my experience with my kids, and you wouldn't believe me. I said, I can't write it. No one will believe what we go through, right. How horrific this life is, and how hard.
I think, with respect to everybody that feels that they're going through the worst thing ever, which is a true statement, I think everyone does have that, like you said, that statement of, you wouldn't believe me, you couldn't imagine, not that you'd probably want them to, but it is your everyday life. It is your children's everyday life, and they do the best they can, and you do the best that you can, and you still enjoy life no matter what the difference is. Would you agree?
So much. We were just playing Yahtzee earlier, me and my and then we're
great game.
There is always the joy. There is always the laughter, and there are the tears in the hard times. But to me, I don't wish illness on anybody, or anybody's child. But to me, having sick kids has taught me the most important lesson of my life, and that's to live in the moment. And I would not have learned that and also what is important. What is the most important things? Your perspective completely changes. And don't want my kids to be sick, but it's life-changing, and they've made me a better human by far than I ever would have been.
I love that you said that, Patricia, because I have my own story. And when I sit here for as long as I've been doing this, and I meet individuals, never maybe in person, but via the internet like this, yep. It keeps me grounded, even though I have my own that people would say, I don't know how you do it. You said the same thing about how people wouldn't believe what you do and how you go through it, and then you can play Yahtzee, you're still enjoying life. I stay grounded because I think to myself, it could be something worse than what I already know.
I say my kid, I
Right?
mean, I know so many children are so much worse off than my kids.
Yes.
So, everything's relative.
Mhm.
Everything is relative. The only thing I think about this particular space is that it's isolating. But also, when you meet another, and I'm sure with your story, you feel this, when you meet another, for me, another mom of a rare kid, there's an instant connection.
Mhm.
Instant.
Mhm.
I know you. I
Mhm.
know I
Mhm.
know how
Mhm.
you're feeling. Like I know what you've been through.
It's the me too factor. You too, me too. Yeah.
Yes. And I think it's that part of it to know someone instantly.
Mhm.
And I don't know, we get a pretty tight community and everybody is helpful. And there's some amazing, amazing parents in this space. And I've learned so much from everybody. I'm grateful to everybody I've met on this journey. And yes, my life could be worse.
Always can
As
say that. Um,
everybody,
Before I ask my final question, how long does an exhibit stay up, and then where is it currently now in case someone wants to take a peek?
okay, currently, um, it isn't anywhere. Summer times
Okay,
generally we don't travel. We
understood.
are doing we're doing an event, a couple of private events, and then we're doing a rare disease conference in North Carolina in September. But we will be doing, and if you can go to our website once the exact dates are up. We're doing a gallery and two hospitals in Arkansas in September and October. So generally, depending on the size of the venue, we're doing 40 portraits. That's huge. We did 40 portraits with the Mayo Clinic and the Rochester Art Museum.
Right.
That's the most we've ever done.
Okay.
Most average about 10 portraits. They generally stay for 2 months.
Thank you, Patricia. Now, I do have a final question. So, um, these images of these kids will stay with me always. Um, if I had one question to ask an individual to get an idea about who they are, or get what I think would be who they are, it would be this question. What message would you like to leave everyone based on your journey of your life?
I think the most dramatic thing that has ever happened to me is I was recently published in the American Journal of Medical Genetics
Wow.
for something I discovered, um, and with another mom who also doesn't have a medical background. I have a degree in finance. I actually got a D in biology. So I would say you can do anything,
Oh, wow.
anything. You are absolutely capable. If I can do what I've done, um, anybody, anybody. It takes heart and and perseverance. And if you would have told me that I would be I call myself a citizen scientist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would have. I'm trying to locate my biology teacher so I can tell him I wasn't a complete failure.
You want them to make sure that that D now could be changed to a C or a B. That's funny.
So yes, yes. So that's the takeaway. Like I became someone I had to become for my kids, and so can everybody else. Whatever doubts you have, because I was not the person I am today, and everybody is possible. I think the lesson, if you're open to lessons and you're open to growth, you can have it.
Love it. Thank you for that answer. I love it. You can do anything you want, and yes, you can be in the medical journal. That's awesome. Thank you for being my guest today, sharing more about what it is that you do, why you do it, and the exhibit that's available for most anybody who's interested in taking a peek at what this movement is of beyond the diagnosis.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes. I want to thank my studio sponsor, the Motivated Mind Group, your global creative agency based right here in downtown Chandler. If you have a story you want to share, know someone who has a story that would help someone else on the journey of their life, please email me to the address of stories christinehotchkiss.com. If you'd like to be a sponsor, you may also email me to the address of stories@christinehotchkiss.com. Until next time, everyone, I wish you well, and you take care.